welcome you all out to the performance and open mic portion of In Full Voice, a poetry gathering featuring our state poet laureate, Lisa Bickmore. Yes, clap for the poet. So I need to thank a number of groups that have helped sponsor this. The Utah Division of Arts and Museums, National Endowment for the Arts, Arts to Zion, Bobby, the Utah State Poetry Society, Silver Reef, in whose beautiful restaurant we're holding this event in, the Red Canyon Co., Estrella, Shemet Poetry, the Book Bungalow, who has wonderful books over here. You can get Lisa's books there, and we love them. They're just downtown on, it's not Main Street, it's Tabernacle. And if you have not been, it is the cutest little bookshop. I adore it. We also want to thank Storm the Mic, which was another open mic you could go to. We have one more. Next Wednesday's our last one. But if you're looking for poetry, next Wednesday at Art Provides, which is our last sponsor, is Art Provides. So thank our sponsors. And then I'm going to introduce you to our poet laureate. So there you go. Lisa Bickmore is a professor emeritus at Salt Lake Community College, where she was one of the founders of its publication center. She is the author of 3 books of poems. The second, Flicker, won the Anti-Venom Prize from Elixir Press. She won the 2015 Ballymolay, I think I said that differently this morning, but we're just gonna roll with it. International Poetry Prize for her poem, Eidolon, which appears in her 3rd collection, Ephemerist, from Red Mountain Press. She is the founder and publisher of the new independent nonprofit Light Scatter Press, which I got a chance to look at the website with Lisa today. It's fantastic. Like, they're doing really creative things with QR codes on the page that can link you to like an interactive portion of the poetry. It's super cool, so check that out. In 2022, she was named the Poet Laureate for the state of Utah. She lives with her husband, John, in West Jordan, and she's also in charge of Moon and the Rye Press, a line from a Ken Brewer poem that is being kind of funded through, you can talk more about that, through the Poet Laureate project. So with that being said, please give a big warm round of applause to our Poet Laureate, Lisa Bickmore.
All right, so first of all, I want to say thank you to all the people and organizations that have supported this visit, which has just been a pure delight. It's been absolutely a joyful experience to meet so many writers and lovers of writing in St. George and around, and to get to talk with many of you about your own writing and just to have this generally life-affirming experience. So thank you so much. I'm going to tell you just briefly about my Poet Laureate project, which is called Moon and the Rye Press, as Darren said. I took the name of it from a poem by Ken Brewer. Ken Brewer is a former Poet Laureate of the state of Utah as well, and a beloved teacher and mentor to many, many people. The press's project is to create limited editions, small scale, micro edition chapbooks for writers around the state. And I'm especially interested in people who work in writing communities and supporting publication of those arising from those communities, but also just writers generally. And I have a funding for a special project that's a broadside project where I'll be working with public school students to create words plus text pieces about the Great Salt Lake and about water issues in the West generally. So yeah, if you want any more information about that, you can contact me, talk to me after, I'll tell you how to find me, and we'll see what we can work out. Okay, so I'm gonna read 10 poems, okay? Just 10. You can count down. This poem comes from my very first book, which is just recently reissued by Signature Books. I'm really happy about that. It's called My Discontent. In the night we sleep in endless dialogue, and if a child creeps between us, our bodies wake to argue as if our voices had never ceased, as if we never slowed a breath or word. In a twisted nightgown, I lie awake after sleep takes him, put my arms around him, listen to his breath's cadence. The child sleeping between us, her hair smells of white soap. I stroke it with my right hand, the left under the pillow like a slice of dreamer's wedding cake I might wish upon. Dream endlessly of endless marriage. One man, one mind. I carry the girl back to her bed, my shadow moving before me on the wall washed in white midnight. No child between us. In the dark, I make my way back to my discontent, to him sleeping, as if sleep might clothe something. Me waiting to ease into a less interrupted sleep. Here's another sleepy poem called Sleepwalking. I'll just tell you about this poem that one night I dreamed about my old piano teacher whose name was Lila Steffen. And 2 days later I found out that that night that I saw her in my dreams, she had died. So that's in this poem. Sleepwalking. I run water into the green cup and my son, first of all, children keep you from sleeping. I don't know if you know that. Okay. I run water into the green cup and my son drinks, then pads down the dark stairs to his bed where he will dream deep till morning. Nights like these, I walk back to bed with eyes still closed, though I only float the surface of that shallow stream and wait for the next small body standing next to me to pull mine out. She wakes to tell me the terrible story she has invented with her eyes closed, that I must revise for her with the curve of my body against hers in my bed. For the smallest, I find the lost blanket she has kicked to the bottom of the bed where her feet do not reach. I turn off the light and turn it back on. I hear their footsteps, though they are sleeping. Anyone who wants to can walk into this bedroom. This night, my old piano teacher walks in her nightgown to sit on the edge of my bed, crossed leg keeping time, pulling dark threads from a raveling hem. But when the clock digits click, she believes the clench of my eyelids, the weight of my sleepy limbs. And when his hot hands touch me, I turn to my husband, but in his face move the uneasy faces of 100 men whose names I know and do not remember. I get up and go to the window to see the dark windows of houses before dawn, the brightness of the white street. Outside, a pale peignoir hangs gracefully on the peach tree's lowest branch. But I turn back to my bed through a crowd of moving, murmuring bodies whom I ask to forgive me. It really is my bedtime. They arrange themselves by ascending height, whispering stories that insinuate sleep. I'm going to tell you this poem is a banger. I'm told. So the story behind this poem is that in my backyard, in our backyard, we have loads and loads of grapes, not planted by us, planted by the people who own the house before us. And one afternoon, we were harvesting those grapes, and by we, I mean my husband was harvesting them, and I was dreaming up this poem, and I think that's equal. Thanks, babe. Concord. At leaf lift, fat fruit falling to hand, bubble-headed bird, secrets glass-blown, hard seed heart, tongue crushed. Sweet bloom and narcissi, sugar-holding, scent-heavy fence brambler, branch brawny shoulders, twiggy hands, mouth of its violet kiss, or even darker, a velvet sheen, pearl or nacre first snow gleam glove cleared, rubbed, thumb polished, this untended flower mouth bee stung berry, this love honey tumble, sweet thicket, autumnal tendril, unmeditated yield. This nonetheless late gleaning, a transcendental century and a half, hence its cold Massachusetts roots, declension of Vitis labrusca, black fox grape the native wilding, frontier now of my tillage, my viticulture, my clean ball jars, my northern thrift, my lyric husbandry. Plump bushels all this unbroken afternoon sheared from vine and cane. Swoon, plummy and beguiled into my marveling palms. This is called In Taos. In Taos. That town, famous for disappearances, its fences and pueblos, where they have no mail because no addresses. Town of the fried potatoes laced with fragrant grease and chile verde, where your father mudded up the old chicken coop, doused it in white paint and called it a house, where you lived, where you slept in late every morning as was your custom, where you did not work and where you wrote long letters scrawled over the image of your face on the paper, emerging like the stigmata, burning eyes, mouthful of fire, where the letters pile up in the corners of the post office de los últimos días, the post office de los desaparecidos, forlorn letter carriers drifting about in the desolate snow, finding one after another letter undeliverable in the place I could have gone. I could have gone with you. Though in that case it would no longer be this house, town over the mountains with no addresses, this town of fried potatoes and chicken coops and paint and stigmata and chile and sleep and snow and rain and moon, stars, white sun. It would finally be where we lost one another, where I'd stay, having given up everything in this world to be there. The marks of this village burned like dry wood, smoke, embers and ashes on my skin, my envelope, stamped, canceled, and therefore nowhere. Just leaning up here against the counter for a sec. Okay. So there was this moment when I kept hearing a song in my head, but no words. And the melody I was absolutely sure of. And I was absolutely sure that Tom Jones, legendary 1960s, 70s, and he's still singing, guys, he has a super interesting story, actually, which I happen to know because I researched the hell out of Tom Jones while this was happening to me. Anyway, here we go. This poem is about that. How can I be sure? The day they met, Elvis walked toward Tom Jones, singing "With These Hands" backstage at Paramount. Tom's own song sung back to him, the first verse of his very best story. All this week I've been hearing a song, lyrics untethered from their melody. It's Tom's voice I hear, just a few stray phrases sung in his rough baritone, drawn through that chest and the cavern of his great head, not to mention pipes, the whole instrument of which, the torso and its undulation, must be understood to be a part. In Wales, in the working men's clubs where he got his start, he sang the ballads the men loved. The later self-making shirt frilled open to there, heavy medallion, the frank to cartoonish sex, another revision of a self that just wanted to sing forever. On television, in Vegas, to Elvis, and to me right now, wordless and full bore, lifting the bridge of this nameless song I cannot place, song that insists, with no apparent reason but to swear to me that he must have sung it. Its melody surges. I wonder if it's a standard. I sing my slip of a song to anyone who will listen. Search his catalog, come to admire the raw, flexible voice, the face and body both in youth and in the aged animal. When at last I find the real singers, another band entirely. The melody is just as I've been hearing it. How can I be sure? Vodka martini, 1, 2, 3. Cigar between his teeth. His is the voice of a man who never, no, never held back when he sang, who sings the song to all its corners until it lifts my very rafters. I trust him with the song. In his hands I'm made sure of it. The song he makes urgent, even if mistaken. Tom's version is best of all, although he never did record it. And bars close at a certain time, but pubs close later. And so at 2 or 3 in the morning, people would be coming out of that pub singing. So the oldest public house in Dublin, September 2008. Observing the catastrophes, the fresh and the dead, from abroad is better. Reading only foreign papers, the not American views of the cab drivers who ask our thoughts about the bailout and Iran and whether we'd seen the debate. Even a 7-hour delay makes the news wince a little less. Our flat over St. Augustine Street had no clock nor phone, so every night we guessed our bedtime from the all-Gaelic station on television. We'd wake at some dark hour as the people left the pubs. We slept 2 stories up, 1 street south of the Liffey, the Brazen Head around the corner. Each night, a concert. First there were motors flaunting their gasoline, then sirens, then the gorgeous singing from down the block. Symphonic, what sounded like a full chorus swelling a lyric I didn't know except for the last line, sung solo just under our window. Why don't you come on over, Valerie? I could have arisen, swooned over the tiny balcony, harmonized with no words as I love to do, but I fretted about waking the grandchildren sleeping in the room next to us, as the singer gave it his all and kept going. Fretted that 2 stories and an open window were really, perhaps, not safe in a city we knew not at all. In an unknown place, why not sing? Instead, for each of the 12 days, I dressed like a shadow, all smoke and night. It seemed elegant while I was packing, and simple, but after we arrived, very like a dirge. At home, it was just weeks before the election, but we tried every day to divine Irish history as we drove past Kilmainham jail or listened to one more cabbie expatiate about the terrorist versus patriot dilemma, how they put the wounded in the hospital to heal before they were executed, and how the cemetery at Glasnevin is filled with the illustrious dead. Maud Gunn, Charles Stewart Parnell, Michael Collins, even Hopkins with the Jesuits. The city is itself a map of troubles we cannot fathom, not really, no matter what we've read. And then each night, yet another song when the pubs, or were they bars, closed. Since I've been home, my body's been a mess. Sick of myself, dizzy, nerves still buzzing. I should have taken myself to one of the bridges, looked down into the water, thrown a little money into the river dividing the city, dark and dirty, to the sea. The morning we arrived, our driver explained the parks, the monuments, the cemetery, as they whooshed by. We passed a sign posted at the entrance of a small close. Be quiet and be tidy. It's the pubs, he said. You know the Irish and they're singing. This is called For Hank Williams. May I just say that my good friend Natalie and a trusted reader helped me revise this poem. So thank you, Natalie. It has an epigraph from a Hank Williams song. No matter how I struggle and strive, I'll never get out of this world alive. In the back seat of a Cadillac, bloated, white boots, white hat, blue suit, all colored with pain of every stripe, a bottle of bonded bourbon in hand, riding on 1 shot of morphine, and then in Knoxville, 2 more. They'd driven north into ice and weather, on the cusp of a new year, aiming to make recompense for everything. Someone once described his drunkenness as shambolic, and it took misunderstanding the word twice, first shambhala, then shaman, until I got it. Shambles, as in flesh shelf, precisely that Cadillac's back seat, that literal falling apart as the teenage drivers sped on and on for the sake of the contract and its penalty clause, right up to Oak Hill Hospital, West Virginia, where 2 doctors pronounced him dead. He'd been booted from the Opry to the hayride, and first one, then a second marriage gone wrong. The body bad from the start, spina bifida occulta, predicting the entire pandemonium. Now I'm listening to the last song he ever charted, listening hard for the hurt and the will to thwart it. Redeem the losses in a voice so brash. And brother, if I stepped on a worn-out dime, I bet a nickel I could tell you if it was head or tails. Thin shoe sole, figuring how every harm marked the body. Just a skinny 29 when he went. But this song severs the longing from the misery. The cool chin up as the fiddle scrapes, the beat squares, guitar slides liquid, all telling the iniquity of it, how this vernacular requires a wreck. This is a letter to David Bowie called Dear David. When I write to you now, I write to one who has left the here for the beyond. That's the future, as you know, better than anyone. In the past, that rainbow zigged across your face, your eyebrows absent, and so your eyes in their sockets went unsheltered, direct and uncanny. I can remember myself most clearly when I remember how unnerving, how that gaze from behind the paint loosened the strength of what I thought I knew. All collapsed now, total blam blam. Each face, new face effacing the last, a kind of courage, I think now, an offering and a refusal at the same time. And why would you regret any of it? The trick was to give it away, but not all of it. The unspent light drawing us to you, to what you sang, with a gravitational pull. Whatever that secret was, it keeps telling itself. These are pretty fresh poems. Fresh. This is called In the Clearing, and it's set in Idaho, where my family has a cabin. Maybe to know this, you need to know that my father died a couple of years ago, and my father and his father built this cabin, so there's a resonance to it for that reason. In the Clearing. A squirrel, maybe 2 of them, spiral the tree trunks, sketch the line, the shortest distance between 2 points. They consider, whatever consideration looks like, how to get into the little cabin. My brother, only son, has assumed the care of this place. I see the fishing tackle, waders. My father's, I mean, although my brother also uses them, hanging from a nail inside the screened-in porch, and hear the dryer turning, towels and underclothes heave and fall. The shed to my right stacked with cans, paints, and poisons along one side, the hammocks, inner tubes, camp chairs along the other. We need a conference to discern what should stay and what go. Yesterday, my mother combed my hair. First time since I was a child, I think. She wanted to see how its waves behaved, she said. To sit in patience for her hands. My old urge to flee that tenderness, that only here in the house my father made with his father is it possible. The moon waxes, so at night the stars we can see depend upon whether the moon has risen, but there are still always stars, visible or no. My brother likes to trim the trees that shade the house. He wants to see the house's face from the road. They used to wear their long skirts and now their legs are bare. A long-legged spider threads its way over the clearing floor, over near their neighbor's driveway. Asters thrive with moths, gray with one blue eye, orange and black. I feel lonelier here than anywhere, where we can speak with the dead because their handiwork is everywhere. The bright windows of the house glow, even in the deepest night, and the river, where no one takes fish anymore, moves, and the waders gleam, as if they had stepped just now to the shore. The last poem, From a Field. The always open eye of the window watches the road behind the field, even when we are sleeping. I don't know where the horse or horses go at night, but just 2 days ago we saw, tall in the saddle, a man riding a golden horse, hat on his head, reins in hand. For what reason, who knows? I think I was thinking about him just before I woke up, about the field and whatever the rider will plant there. Some years corn, others alfalfa, and the pheasants we sometimes see there, and the hawks, and sometimes even more horses. I don't know what the actual dream was, just before I got up. The sky still gray, but also lighter than when I'd at last closed my book and my eyes. I think the field may be the dream. Its goings-on soaked in irrigation water, and the flag in the grocery parking lot whipping its stripes in all weather. Also holding that wet residue, the field and window border, my dream life, the acre, the crop, the animal, the plow. Thank you so much.